Hello and welcome. This is Chris Likes Bikes. I'm Chris, and I'm currently on my 2024 Suzuki GSX-8R. I just picked this up about a month ago, and I've put just under 300 miles on it so far. Still in the braking period, but so far so good. It's a 776cc parallel twin, 270 degree, for those that care. It's a 6-speed quick shift up and down, which is wonderful. So far, I've really had a good time on this bike. I'm coming from an R3, 2023 R3, and it's a significant upgrade in many ways. Obviously, it's up on power. Ergonomics are excellent. You're in a relatively upright riding position. I would say relatively neutral, if anything else. Fairly comfortable, and just all around feels really good. Controls are very, very easy to manage. Everything's right here in your thumbs. You have your modes, you have your turn signals here, your horn, your lights, it's all there. It's just very, very easy to manage. The LCD screen is absolutely great. It gives you all the information you need. You've got your tach, you've got your speedometer, obviously, gear indicator, fuel gauge, the important stuff. This bike also has 3 rider modes, which you'll see is SDMS. Right now I'm in ride mode C, which is rain mode, quote unquote rain mode. With this bike still being in the braking period, I don't want to get too crazy with it yet, so I'm just taking it easy on it. There's also traction control, has 3 modes, 3 being the most traction control, and then 1 being the least. Keeping it on 3 again because still breaking it in, not doing anything crazy. So yeah, so what do I like about this bike? Well, first and foremost, the power. It makes great power. Being a parallel twin, it's very torquey in the low range. Obviously, I've not gotten it up into the higher range yet due to the break-in. But at the few times where I have done it, this thing pulls. It certainly pulls. This isn't a leader bike by any means. This isn't an inline 4, middleweight. It's being a parallel twin, it's a little bit different than those, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I know a lot of people like to, they're detractors of the parallel twin. Oh, it's not an inline 4, blah, blah. It's a different bike. This is a versatile bike. It's a versatile engine. I mean, this engine's in the 8S. It's also in the V-Strom. It's just a great engine to just kind of throw into things. The transmission is really nice. Having that quick shift up and down is just a really, really great feature. I wish more bikes had it. It's just really, really great. It's very responsive. I mean, it's down, no problem. It's up, no problem. It just does its thing. I'm going to give this guy a little bit of room here. Rider position, as I said, is relatively neutral. Right now I'm fairly upright, and I'm comfortable. I have some back issues, so this feels pretty good. I'm not hunched over, I'm not leaned forward. I do lean forward on cool days like today when I'm actually going at highway speeds because to keep the wind down. Speaking of which, the fairing on here is really great. It does a great job of keeping the wind out of my neck. Where I'm at right now with my position, it's hitting me pretty much right in the chest. Pretty manageable amount of wind. It's a good fairing. I think I might do maybe a taller windscreen at some point, but it's really not that much of an issue. It's really great. The sound of this engine is excellent. It has a very, very throaty sound to it. It's a bassy, throaty sound. One of the drawbacks with this is because of regulations, it's quiet at highway speeds. Once you're going about 50 or 60 miles an hour, you really can't hear it. Now I'm using a Shoei RF 1400, which is a pretty loud helmet. I don't have the ear pads in because I have a Cardo Pack Talk Edge. So with the Pack Talk Edge, I have those speakers where the earpieces would go. So it does, you know, affect a little bit. So I have to wear, you know, just wear earplugs, which isn't a big deal. But again, you know, because of that, you really can't hear this exhaust. So if you're thinking of getting this bike, you know, like I'm thinking of getting an exhaust, I would tell you do the same thing. Get an exhaust for it, whether it's a slip-on or what have you, go for it. You know, later on down the road, I'll put an exhaust on this, and I will most definitely, you know, upload a video so you can hear it. But I mean, it sounds good. It sounds really good. So, you know, not a huge issue with it being quiet. One of the drawbacks with this bike, you know, you look at this bike, you think it's a sport bike. It's really, I would say, more of a sport tourer. You know, having this upright position and you know, the way your legs are, you know, this is definitely going to be a great touring bike. But the issue is there's no cruise control. You know, I wish Suzuki had thought about that, because that would make this bike probably the perfect sport tourer until you get up in the leader bikes. Again, not a major issue, but it would definitely make this, you know, tip this over the edge for, I think, a lot of people. Now, I do say that it looks like a sport bike, it's more of a sport tourer, but it still handles very well. I mean, this is a very agile bike. I'm here in Pennsylvania right now, and I'm having a blast on this twisty road here. I mean, this thing just eats it up. And along with that, the suspension on this thing is really great. You know, coming from the R3, you know, that bike, it's stiff. When you hit a bump, you feel it everywhere. This thing really eats up bumps pretty well. You know, I'm obviously trying to avoid bumps whenever I can, but you know, that's, you know, sometimes you just can't do it. So I wouldn't say the suspension's soft, but I would say it's definitely it's well dampened. It's definitely well dampened. You know, I think a bike like this, I would prefer that. I don't need a super stiff suspension on a bike like this. You know, this is not a Gixxer. You know, this is definitely not a Gixxer. The Gixxer in name only. There's a reason why I put the 8. There's a reason why they put the 8 before the R, not after the R. So yeah, really great bike. There's really not too many bad things I can say about it. You know, besides the lower exhaust note at highway speeds, the lack of cruise control. Looks wise, this bike looks amazing. I had quite a few people, you know, stop and talk to me when I'm, you know, pulled over on the side of the road, you know, at a shop or something like that. I actually was just getting coffee in Lambertville, New Jersey. Shout out Union Coffee. I think they make the best coffee around. I rode a good hour just to get a cup of coffee there. And sorry, I had to enjoy that a little bit. And yeah, a few people stopped to talk to me about the bike. They were like, oh man, what is that? You know, I've never seen that before. One guy, he rides, he's a Harley guy, but he knows his Japanese bikes too. He goes, oh, is that a Gixxer? I said, no, it's not. I said, it's a GSX-8R. He goes, oh, is that new? I said, yeah, it just came out about a month and a half, 2 months ago. And you know, I think it's one of the best looking new bikes on the market right now in this segment. I mean, it's so cool. You know, it's aggressive in the front. You know, it looks like an 8S from the handlebars back, really. But you know, the 8S is a great looking bike too. It really is a beautiful bike. And around town, this thing's really great. The clutch is just there. You know, the clutch feels great. The bike is 442 pounds, very manageable weight. Granted, it's about 100 pounds heavier than my R3. but that's okay. You know, as I mentioned, this is a very agile bike. You are not going to have any problems with this bike at all as far as handling is concerned. So the seat height is 31.9 inches, I believe. I have a 30-inch inseam. So, you know, the seat's a little bit high for me, but not too high. Make sure this van doesn't hit me. Yeah, I have a 30-inch inseam, 31.9-inch seat. The seat height's pretty manageable. You know, when I'm stopped at a light or something like that, you know, obviously I have to tip the bike over just a little bit, but no big deal. It's you know, very easily manageable. Swinging a leg over it is no problem. I replaced the pillion with or rather the rear seat with a cowl cover. You know, I don't have anybody else that's going to ride this bike. My wife doesn't ride. She doesn't like bikes. So it's all me. So, you know, I did throw the cowl cover on here. Suzuki makes a lot of accessories for this bike, you know, that came from the 8S as well. For example, they make the tank bag ring, so you can get the tank bag ring, you can put a tank bag on here. They do make saddle bags, so you can get saddle bags for it. They have the little attachments for that as well. And then obviously the seat cowl. There's a few other things too. I don't really have them on hand, so you can just take my word for it. You can go to the website, and you can just order your parts and accessories from your local dealership. So yeah, that's it. That's my quick review of this bike. You know, it's just a really great bike. I think Suzuki knocked it out of the park. You know, one of the reasons why I bought the R3 was because I felt that Suzuki was just kind of lame. You know, the Gixxer the Gixxer, you know, it's its own thing. You know what I mean? You look at a Gixxer, you know what it is, you know who's riding it. You know, that wasn't me at that time. I just didn't like that. You know, I like the style of them, but they're old. You know, they're definitely long in the tooth. The R3 felt a little bit newer. The R7 as well. That was the bike I was originally going to get. But you know, when Suzuki announced this bike at EICMA, I literally ran to my local dealership where I bought my R3. I talked to my buddy John. I said, "Dude, did you see the 8R?" He goes, "No." So he looked it up, and he looked at me. He said, "What color do you want?" I said, "Yellow." And then back in February, he called me up. He said, "Hey, we got an allocation." So I managed to get the first GSX-8R on the East Coast of the US. Again, I picked it up on February 15th, so I've had it for literally just over a month. I just turned 300 miles on this thing. Awesome. So I'm halfway through the braking period. And yeah, you know, really nothing but praises for this bike. It's just an excellent bike. You know, there's other reviews up on YouTube from press and all that stuff. You know, but those are first rides. Those are, you know, they're riding it. They don't ride it every day. You know, I ride it almost every day. I find an excuse to get out on this thing. You know, I don't commute. I work from home. Sorry, my car was talking to me. Yeah, I don't commute. I work from home. So, you know, I have to make an excuse to ride this, and that's not hard. I tell my wife, "Hey, I want to go out. I'll be back." And that's that. I go. Oh, and I stop. Maybe I should mention the brakes. The brakes on this, these are Nissan brakes. They're not Brembos. Doesn't mean anything. These Nissans are great. I mean, this thing, there's nobody behind me. Watch this. This thing stops on a dime. Not an issue. And it accelerates very, very good, even in quote-unquote rain mode. That's mode C for those of you that are looking into this bike. It moves. There's no issues there. That was one of the big things that you know, pushed me to this bike. You know, the R3 is a really fun bike, but you know, I can't take that bike on the highway. I mean, I can, but you know, living in New Jersey, if you're on one of the 95s, if you're not going 80 miles an hour, you're not going fast enough. And 80 miles an hour on a 300, you're screaming at 6th gear. This thing, no problem. And another nice thing with this is, you know, you have plenty of torque, you have plenty of power. So if you need to pass, you can pass, no problem. Just a really great all-around bike. If you're thinking about this bike, I highly recommend it. I mean, there's nothing else I can really say about it except buy it. If you're thinking about a bike in this segment, if you're looking at the R7, if you're looking at an Aprilia RS660, if you're thinking about that new Daytona 660 that's coming out, all great bikes. Maybe not the R7 anymore. The R7's kind of hitting the Suzuki thing. Yamaha's getting long in the tooth of these things. You know, this is the hot new. This is hot and fresh. This is right out the oven, and it is excellent. So definitely take it for a ride. See what you think. I guarantee you, if you get on this bike, you are absolutely going to love it. That's all I've got for you. Please like and subscribe if you like this video. If you didn't, hey, like it anyway maybe? Tell me what you didn't like, and you know, I'll work on it in the future. This is my first ever review of a motorcycle. You know, I've never done this before. It's something that I just wanted to try out. So yeah, you know, leave some comments, you know, constructive criticism. If you tell me I suck, if you hate my voice, I hate it too. It's okay. My kid can't stand me when I put food in his mouth. That's all I got, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.